ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh, yeah. No.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
So for some reason, I totally slept in this morning, and I was out cold. Like, I don't normally sleep that heavy.
Uh-huh.
And usually my internal clock will go off. But anyway, I slept in, and the next thing I know, I had a phone call, which subsequently woke me up. And it was my daughter, and she was walking to school. So normally I wake up just before she gets up and goes to school, and I, support her extra needs as she's getting ready to go to school. One of which is that, yes, I pack her lunch, and I keep telling myself it's not forever. So I'll do it while I can. Anyway, so she called me to say that she didn't have a lunch, that, she got out the door.
Because you were such a slacker that you were still
I
sleeping.
know, right? Like, how dare I? And I said, well, why didn't you wake me up? She says, I did, but you were not waking up. So I don't know.
Oh, I feel ya.
I don't know if my husband spiked my drink last night, or like I was out. So, so anyway, I said, oh, okay, well, I'm really, what are you going to do? Like, I said, did you want me to bring you something? Because that's happened in the past where I've, gone and taken something to school for her. And she says, oh, no, don't worry, Mom. I'm just going to call Uber Eats and they can deliver something to the school for me.
Oh, my.
I'm like, what? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, they do that? And she goes, all the time.
And the school is cool with this?
Well, this school, it's just such a big open campus that Uber Eats just pulls up at lunchtime beside the school, and the kids just walk out and pick it up and go back on campus.
Like my school, they would have pulled up to a fence, and you would stick money through the fence, and they would throw it over the top.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, they do have a big gate, but you can pass things through. But they can also come out of the gate too. I mean, they can walk on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
They can go around the gate and come down the sidewalk. Then sometimes I think even, like, I know her and her friends had pizza delivered before.
Oh, goodness.
It's
That
just
ain't
been
right.
left at the office.
Do they still even have cafeterias?
They do. Yeah, they do have cafeterias with, you can be on a lunch program.
Yeah.
But I don't think the kids really, if they don't have to, they choose not to. So they would rather get Uber Eats because, they can order from all kinds of places.
So would I, but oh man,
so
that's very funny.
Gone are the days of, getting a bag of potato chips from the vending machine or something to see you through the day.
Right.
And with all the concerns about security and stuff.
Oh,
that
it's not.
would seem to be a breach.
Well,
But
no, because
they're not allowed to leave the building. The campus. Like, my daughter, she could leave and just drive herself to a restaurant instead of calling Uber Eats.
They can't leave the campus without a pass, but they can certainly walk around on the front sidewalk and then grab the food and...
Oh, dear.
Yes, so...
Wow.
How times have changed.
Kids today.
Yes.
That's right.
Oh, well.
That's her solution. Pretty creative, I'd say.
We used to, back in my day, you would have to hop the fence and run across the street to the Jacapuzzi Dairy and get your Slim Jims and your bag of potato chips and what all, and then sneak back in while nobody was looking.
I know. Once, my friend and I sneaked out the back door of the school because we did not have an open campus.
Yeah, neither did we.
We were supposed to stay there, and we sneaked out, walked to her house, and ordered a pizza. I think we must have called from the school to order the pizza.
Okay.
Because, we didn't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
And we needed it to get there, in 30 minutes or less. So we must have called from the school, quick walk to her house. And I remember we had to like check the driveway to make sure her parents' cars weren't in the driveway and they weren't home.
Yeah.
Run in, eat the pizza, and then come back. It was like this big expedition.
Wow.
Yeah. See, ours was an open campus and I would go home for lunch.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
no, why go home? Why? Just why even bother bringing a lunch?
When you can just call Uber Eats.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is very funny.
So, yeah.
Well,
Kids these days.
as we feel our age and feel out of the loop of the new way of doing things in schools, let me just say hello and welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. I'm Terri Morrow, and with me today are Nicole Eridix
Hello?
and Catherine Holeko.
Hello.
Today on the podcast, we're going to talk about extended families on our speed round, shout out some stuff we like on the Roundabout Roundup, and do some shameless self-promotion. But first, some parenting goals. Maybe.
So, right. I saw a post from a page called I Might Be Funny on Facebook, and I actually saw it via another group called Grown and Flown.
Oh, I like that one.
And it had two lists, and it said, I want to raise people who do the following and who don't. So the do's were, I want to raise people who say please and thank you, pick up their dog's poop, use turn signals when driving, cover their mouths when they cough, return their shopping carts, hold doors open, and then the last one is are respectful, compassionate, and kind, which pretty much covers all the previous ones. I guess.
Sure.
And then the don'ts were people who don't talk in a movie theater, drive slowly in the fast lane, use a speakerphone in public,
Worse.
double dip their chips,
Even worse.
or stand too close to someone in line. So my question to you is, do you agree with these or not? And what would you add or subtract?
Just because I'm perverse this way, I think my thing would be, I would like to raise kids who don't write snippy lists on Facebook to be all judgy.
To judge other people's parenting.
Exactly. But that's just
an
me.
excellent point.
But probably a chance of that.
But I do think some of these, especially the don'ts, like, do not use a speakerphone in public. Come on.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like on a bus or a train or whatever.
Or just
like
use the phone
anywhere
in
near
general.
me, which I have failed to raise children who do not do that. I have already failed. My kids are in my 20s and my daughter uses her speakerphone and I hate it.
But does she do it when she's like out and about, or is it when?
Well, I don't know when she's out and about. She does it in the car sometimes, and she does it sometimes at home. I'm not out. I don't know if I've seen her do it when we're out and about because I'm with her, so it's not quite the same as do you do it when you're out with other people.
Right.
But I do not like that. And she gives me a look when I say I do not like it, like, elderly person, get with the times. This is the way we do it now. So that may be.
Maybe. Well, I mean, and then there's the whole, like, checking your phone when you're with other people.
Yeah.
Which I personally am guilty of, even though I don't like it when other people do it.
Yeah, it's hard to get on a high horse about that one.
It really is. Yes.
Sadly.
Yeah.
People certainly do.
Yeah. And, drive slowly in the fast lane. Yes. Do not do that.
Do not do that. Yeah.
But also do not drive fast in the slow lane.
Correct.
Can we make that a corollary? If I get my butt over to the slow lane, you don't get to tailgate me. Pass me.
Right.
That's the whole point.
Exactly.
Pass me.
Right. Oh, don't eat with your mouth open. For the love of God.
I fear I have failed in that one already, too. Just a smacking going on at my family meals.
It drives me insane. I think there's actually like something called, there's condition where you actually you can't handle it when other people eat loudly.
There's one about the sound of people eating. Yeah.
Yeah. Drives me nuts. Or slurping soup. Oh, or tea or coffee. No. I
Yeah,
can't.
never come to my house, Nicole. I'll meet you somewhere out of the house, and I will put my hand over my face while I eat. We'll meet someplace where we won't consume
We won't
anything.
eat. You'll go to a movie theater and sit in the dark.
There you go. We'll meet somewhere at night outside.
Well, and so talking to movie theaters on the list. And yesterday, my son and I went to see a musical, a touring Broadway show, for which we paid a fair amount for tickets. And
Right.
first of all, we did get there we got there just at the very last possible second. So the people who were sitting in our row had to stand up for us to let us in, and they were perturbed. And
Yes.
guess what? If you don't want to do that, then you should buy a seat on the end, because that's
Right.
life. And I'm sorry, but we were late,
Yeah.
but we were there before it started. So-
Sure.
And then
That's legit.
And then the person behind us was talking. So we were like surrounded by badly
And it's-
behaved people.
And it's like, were you free to be judgy of the person talking when you were being judged about your lateness?
Our lateness, exactly.
Or did you have a judginess, no judginess pass?
Yeah, I don't know. We were judgy, but people around us were handling it. People around us were turning around and staring. And I think possibly the person who was talking, or people, were older people who may have had hearing impairments.
Yeah.
Possibly, because
Yeah.
it just didn't seem like they knew that
Right.
anyone could hear them. So,
Yeah, that happens, and that is annoying, but it does happen.
right. And then, you
And
have sympathy for their just inability to realize what they've done. So,
yeah.
what other behaviors can we judge people about?
Judginess. So much judginess.
I definitely think, how about return their shopping carts is on this, and also
Yes.
park like a normal human. Do not, park crooked or take up 3 spaces, or,
Yes.
park in the
Well,
handicap
certainly.
spot when you're not disabled. Don't do any of those things. It's common courtesy.
Yes. But also, I would say, don't feel like you were put on this earth to enforce all the rules on other people. Because sometimes there's stories you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are oftentimes people who have said, yes, it's very important for people who are not handicapped not to park in the handicapped space, but don't assume that you know whether somebody is handicapped or not.
Right.
Just from looking at them, you ableist.
Right.
thug.
You have no idea.
So, so that's sometimes difficult. So I would like to raise children who obey those rules of basic courtesy, but don't look around for opportunities to judge people for not doing so. Mind your own business and let other people, get their judginess elsewhere. Because I think that, I do think that is a problem. I make jokes about it, but,
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of reasons why people might need to park in that spot.
Right. And, if they are doing it, they will receive their punishment through God or karma.
Right.
But you do not need to be the agent of that. I would like to raise children, and I'm not sure that I have done this because my children are raised, but children who can take advice gracefully. That does not necessarily mean they need to follow it, but they need to know how to appreciate when somebody is trying to do them a solid and, smile and nod and not argue And, I keep telling my daughter, you can take that piece of information and crumble it up in your head and throw it into an imaginary wastebasket. But you can't be rude, Don't let it affect you if it's not appropriate, and politely say thank you.
Right.
That's all you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't roil over it later. Assess whether it's useful to you or not. If it's useful, use it. If it's not useful, set it on fire. But that's a difficult thing to, that's a difficult skill.
Yeah. Yeah.
To not feel judged and upset when somebody gives you advice. There are some people who are giving you advice rudely, and that's a completely different thing. But when a loved one gives you advice, like, oh, I don't know, say your mother.
For example.
You can just say, yes, Mom, thank you. That's very interesting. I'll keep that in mind. And then go on and do whatever the hell you want to do.
And we had a podcast, this was a while ago, but we had one about like conversation and making conversation and
yes.
Small talk and how to enter and exit a conversation. And I think that's another really, like, number one important, number two really hard, similar to the advice one.
Yes.
Because I definitely, I still have issues with interruptions, like I am talking to someone right now. You can see that and hear that with your very capable eyes and ears. So hold your horses.
Yeah.
Nicole, do you have more? Nicole.
Oh, she must have muted.
Hi.
Oh, there you are.
I had a little,
I
sorry
would like
about
to
that.
raise children who don't just disappear from a conversation without anybody letting them know where they went.
Well, as you know, I'm 3 hours behind, so my daughter just walked in the door and it was, the rundown of the school day, but it was, okay, I've got to go.
Raise children who don't interrupt podcast recordings.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think manners are just a huge thing for me. I'm like so big on being polite.
Yeah.
And
I feel like I have children for whom manners are sometimes difficult. And
yeah, I mean,
while I feel it's
certainly
important, there are people who have judged them for that, I think, kind of needlessly. So the ability to extend grace to another person is a nice thing.
Yes.
Although
I mean, obviously within their capabilities, right? Like, I'm not making a blanket statement about that, but within their realm of capacity. But it'd be nice if my kids picked up their clothes when they were,
right.
Yeah.
There wasn't a trail.
How about raising people who put their dirty dishes in the dishwasher and their dirty clothes in the
but now
camper?
wait, do you want them putting their dishes in the dishwasher?
Oh, yes.
Because, like, my husband does not.
I would rather them at least try, and I will fix it if necessary.
So you want kids who will put their stuff in the dishwasher, but not be bugged when mom completely reorganizes it.
Exactly.
Not feel that as a personal affront.
Right.
Because my feeling is,
I would like
you
to
got
have
rules,
kids.
you can put them in the dishwasher, but that's okay. I'm sorry, go ahead, Nicole.
Well, I was just branching off of that. I'd like to have kids who actually cook a meal every once in a while.
Ooh.
Oh, I have that.
Nice
I have that. Lena cooks sometimes, and she does her own laundry, and she does a lot of things. So I did okay on that.
Yeah.
Cook a meal for themselves or for you?
Well, for me too.
Nicole gets hungry too.
It's good.
But to your specifications. You don't want anybody making
vegetables,
you a salad.
Please.
None. Although I am getting a little bit better. Although, this whole romaine lettuce thing has taken the pressure off. So,
are you feeling a little smug about that, Nicole? Be honest. Where's your lettuce now?
Exactly, all you healthy people. See what you get for being healthy. No, I'm not
You
that
get E.
unhealthy.
coli.
I do eat my vegetables. It would be nice if I had kids that did eat some more like variety of food than what they do right now, because they're pretty limited in their palates, in their food choices. Then that would make going out to restaurants a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure.
And also if they had, for example, parents on their sports team who had to order food for them, it would help if they could just pick something from a rather lengthy list.
So if you're wondering if Catherine has let go of that yet, listeners, no.
Oh, no, because I'm doing it all over again
so
for
much.
this.
Right.
I finished with
good.
California, but my job is not over.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry. Tangent. We can move on.
Let's see. What other things do we feel it's important?
I think it's good. I mean, personally, I like the fact that my kids are aware of other people's, cultures and backgrounds and belief systems. And I guess that kind of goes in with respect, but that they, like I want kids to be able to know what's going on around them and in other countries, and be more open-minded maybe. I don't know if that comes from the parents, but yeah, it'd be nice. Yeah, I guess that comes from the experiences that they have at home, but it'd be nice to have kids who are, a little bit more worldly, I guess, within their own, capacity, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, always that.
And that doesn't necessarily mean having traveled, because not everybody has those means, but just paying attention to what's going on in the world, which is a lot to ask of a teenager who's very egocentric.
Yes.
But yeah, kids who are just aware of current events and
Yeah.
I don't know, who are tolerant of other people's belief systems.
Yeah, well, and tolerant of different abilities in the inclusion sense, and
totally
something I value in the way other people raise their children. Can we move on to that? People raise your children to be nice to people who are different from them, I guess.
Yes.
There in every year of my kids' schooling, there have been kids who were sweet to them, and there have been kids who were not. And raise your kids to be the ones who are sweet, and encourage that and let that flourish. I know sometimes, I remember a conversation that just broke my heart with a very nice mom of a very nice daughter, complaining about how this kid who, sounded like possibly there were some special needs, how this kid was just constantly hanging on her daughter, and that her daughter had been nice to this kid, and this kid now was constantly hanging on her. And I'm like, I appreciate your distress over that. It's your kid. You're defensive of your kid. But my kid was the hanger-on. And I so valued that kid who was tolerant. And, just value that in your children. Don't encourage them to shake it off. It's like, which I know this mom was not doing, and this mom was just feeling for her daughter, and I completely understand that, and I might have been in the same place. But I just so value that. Those kids, those special kids who are willing to be cool with my kids and be friendly to them and include them and, have them over and reach out to them in all sorts of different ways. That is so special, And I don't know if that's the parents or if that's just some kids are cool. I don't know. But thank God for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think definitely being more inclusive of not being so exclusionary would be a nice request.
So that I don't have to say that the thing that I want to raise my kids to do is to have a hard shell and not be hurt by things.
Yeah.
Is that sort of where it is otherwise?
Right.
Inspired by those kids who are not nice.
So many things.
Yes.
But I think I'm overall happy with my kids. Are you?
I would say the jury's still
I think I'm
out.
happy.
Yeah, I think I am. I wish that, as I just said, I wish I didn't have to raise my kids to have a harder shell.
Yeah.
But I do sort of feel like that may be to not be so easily hurt. And certainly I wasn't raised to not be so easily hurt.
And I feel like that's
And I don't think I did.
It's a temperament thing. I think that's really,
It really
hard
is.
to
Yes,
move
because I
the
have
needle
one
on.
who I think I have
Totally.
one who is and one who isn't, and it had nothing to do with me in either case.
Right.
So it's partly temperament, it's partly the particular disabilities, and in one case, maybe my son is easily hurt and he just never expresses it to me. So, which is a terrifying thought.
Right.
That's worse. It's like, if it's just suffering in silence, I don't want that either. But
Yeah.
But that's hard.
Well,
It
all of
is.
this from a
Like to raise children who do not cause their mother any cause to lay down in a dark room. Yeah, not in their power,
Right.
sadly.
Well, all this from a Facebook post. So there you go.
There you go. Well, talking about kids as we usually do, I know that each of us has 2 children in our families and that live with us. But I'm just wondering if your extended family, is that fairly moderate, small, large? I find especially around the holidays that I kind of look at bigger families and get a little bit, wishful that I had maybe had, not maybe myself, but maybe my extended family was a bit bigger.
Yeah.
But
That's an interesting thought.
because even with my 2 kids, I just have a brother, so there's 2 kids on my side.
Mm-hmm.
And then my husband has 2 sisters, and then only one of those sisters has 1 child. So we have a very small extended family, like an immediate extended family. I do have lots of cousins and relatives on my mom's side, but they live in Australia, so we don't see them
A lot
much.
of good they do you.
So it's pretty much gatherings in our house are fairly quiet.
Yeah.
So what's it like at your house? What do you have? Large families, extended families, small? What does it look like for you?
Well, there's the extended family, and then there's, do you actually associate with the extended family? So those are two different questions. So, we have gotten further and further away. My extended family is all on the West Coast, so I don't really see them. And my husband's extended family is all, the immediate extended family is in New York and Pennsylvania. He has relatives in New Jersey who we see at weddings, but we're really kind of an island these days.
Yeah.
But there's not, even with that, there's not that much. My husband has a brother and a sister. His sister is not married. His brother is married and has 2 kids. I have a half sister who has 2 kids, but they're in California. I have an aunt and a cousin, also on the West Coast, but I really am completely out of touch with them. I'm barely in touch with my sister and her family. And so there's not really that much. We see Rick has cousins who live in New Jersey, and we see them at weddings and funerals. And really not any other time, because they're not real close if they lived, across town. But it's, all the older generation who lived nearby have passed. So I would, my daughter in particular would love to have a strongly connected extended family. And it's just, we just haven't really given it to her. She misses the cousins more than we miss the cousins. So, she still would like to get more get-togethers, but I think everybody else is kind of over it. I don't know, Catherine, do you traveled to see extended family this Thanksgiving, right?
I did, yeah. We have like this core Thanksgiving group on my side of the family that it's nice. It's like 14 people when everybody comes, so it's not huge. But we're scattered literally coast to coast. So, and not everybody was able to come this year, so that was too bad. But yeah, it's the same crew. And then my husband's side is pretty big, although, many of them have passed away now. But, his mother was actually an only child, but his father had several brothers and sisters. And then his grandmother, who he lived with and was very close to, had several brothers and sisters. And then they all have kids, so there's quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like when in the summer, we went back to his hometown, and we had one day where we saw all the ones from his dad's side, and then we had another day where we saw all the ones from his mom's side, and it was nice. It was really nice. And I would love it if my kids, they have one cousin on my husband's side, and then on my side, I have 3 half siblings, and I hesitate to make that distinction, but the truth is I just wasn't raised with them. I don't know them that well. Yeah. My kids don't know them that well, and they don't necessarily think of the cousins from that side as cousins in the same way as their cousin who they've grown up with, who's my husband's brother's daughter. So my husband and I have always wished that our kids had more cousins. And in fact, that was one of the reasons why we tried to have a third kid, because we were like, well, if they don't have cousins, they can have more siblings. That didn't happen. But I was raised with only one, like being close physically, physical proximity to one cousin. But I grew up with my grandmother, aunt, uncle, and cousin all in the same town and all within walking distance. So we saw each other all the time. Neat. And I miss having, it's, not as much now that my kids are a little older, but, it's nice when your kids are little to have family members that you can count on and ask for help.
Yes. We were very, very fortunate when my kids were young that Rick's parents were alive and lived nearby, and we counted on them quite a lot. And also, my brother-in-law and his family also lived in town. So for a while we had that. We absolutely had somebody we could leave kids with, and that was a great benefit. And fortunately, my brother-in-law and his family moved after my kids were, junior high and high school age. So it wasn't as important, but boy, I still missed it. It still would have been nice. And,
even just recently, we, with my husband and I went on a trip, and we just didn't have anybody to leave our kids with, my parents are very willing to help, but they don't live here, and they have very busy schedules. Like, my mom still works. She travels all around for work, and when she's not traveling for work, they're traveling for leisure. So, if we want them, we have to book them like many months in advance. Yeah. In terms of like your friends being your family, I definitely have friends I can count on for that now. And, one of them lives very close by, and that's good. But the other one, my best friend lives, like 45 minutes, say, away. So, there's been times, and when my son was a couple of times when my kids were in the hospital, I called and said, please come and watch the other one. And they got in their car. One time in the middle of the night, they got in their car and came. Right. So that's really valuable, but I kind of hate to put that on them. But I do. And they know it. It's like, I'm going to call you if something happens. Right.
So,
And
thank
yeah,
God.
luckily
'Cause otherwise, what do people do?
I know.
I don't know, you know?
I still remember, and I probably told this story on the podcast before, like when I was pregnant with my son and we had lived in this community, in this house for 1 year, you know, I was like, what am I going to do with my older kid? Like, what will I do? And because my mom was going to come, but we didn't know when. And then a friend of mine said, you know, I'll take her when the time comes. And I was like, oh, thank you. And she said, because I know how it feels, you know, when you're like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
So, and then another time when we had to take my daughter to the hospital to the emergency room, my neighbors happened to be walking by outside, and we like ran outside and said, can you please come inside?
Yeah.
So thank goodness we do have some nice neighbors and friends.
Yeah, because you have one kid in crisis. You, number one, can't give any time to the other kid, and number two, don't want the other kid to get freaked out. You know, my daughter didn't need to be at the hospital at, 2 a.m. worrying about her brother in surgery.
Right.
We were in a really strange predicament for many years because when I was growing up, we didn't have any family around. So we would just be, taken to friends' houses if my parents had to go on an emergency. And then when I had my kids, we lived about 10 minutes away from my mom and dad. And so we were lucky because I could always rely on them if something happened. And especially when my husband, he traveled all the time when my kids were younger, like all the time. And so it was nice having my parents there to help with odds and ends.
Yeah.
And then we moved down here and knew nobody. And my kids were still pretty young. And not only did we not know anybody, but my husband still traveled probably even more. So that used to freak me out because where we lived was it was kind of on the edge of town and in a pretty remote neighborhood. And we only had one neighbor on one side of us. And my son was 12 and Kristen was 7. And so, my son wasn't of driving age or anything, but I remember the best day of my life, one of the best days of my life was when my son got his driver's license because I could just breathe a huge sigh of relief in case anything happened. Then he could go get help, or he could drive us somewhere, or he could pick her up, because that was the other thing too. If I had to go out of town and couldn't get back to get them in time, or there was just so many instances where it was so hard, and we didn't know anybody. We hadn't really developed those relationships. Fortunately now we have those people that will come at the drop of a hat. Like my husband was in the hospital recently, and we had our closest friends were just there right away. We didn't even ask them. They showed up in the ER.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Here we are. What do you want us to do? Yeah. So, but yeah, that was a pretty scary time, was when we had just moved here, and my husband was going for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. So it was a long time for us the three of us to be on our own. But thank goodness those days are over. It's not easy. But so
for our listeners who have a lot of extended family and have been driven crazy by them this holiday season, say a little word of thanks.
Yes. And that's it for our speed round today. And remember, you can hear a new speed round every Wednesday through Friday. Hi, we hope you're enjoying this episode of Parenting Roundabout. We're not one of those podcasts that's trying to sell you websites or mattresses or meal kits. I mean, we totally would, but no one's asked us yet.
There is, however, something you can do that costs you nothing, but will put a little change in our pockets. Listen to our podcast on the Radio Public app. Download the app to your iPhone or Android device and listen to Parenting Roundabout there, and we'll get paid for each listen. Plus a little more if you listen a lot.
We think you'll enjoy listening to all your podcasts on this app, but if you could at least listen to Parenting Roundabout there, we'd be very grateful. Now, back to the episode. All right, now we bring you some of the things we've read or seen or used recently that we want to shout out and share with you. So I will start this. I don't know if this is really a shout out and share with you. It's just that I want advice. So I'm going to mention that I have acquired a used Fitbit. And Catherine,
Yes?
tell me about Fitbits.
Well, there's a lot of different ones. I have a old one that is very, very basic.
I have an Alta, not the Alta HR, which is too bad because I wanted the heart rate. But it allegedly will record my steps and my sleep.
Yeah.
And it is possibly because it was in a drawer for a long time. And then I mentioned to my friend that I wanted a Fitbit, and she said, I have one. You can have mine. And so, you know, it took a long time to wake its little battery up from sleep. And now it does. How much of a charge? How long does yours stay charged for? It's supposed to change. This one's supposed to stay charged for 5 days, and I'm not even getting a day.
Oh, no.
Is that a common Fitbit failing?
No, mine goes for 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
So, yeah,
and
I would say that's a problem.
All right. And when the screen, you're supposed to be able to tap the screen and it will tell you things. And mine does that fitfully. Sometimes I tap and it comes up immediately. Sometimes I tap for 5 minutes and goes, nope. No information for you. Sometimes it does. You're supposed to, when you pick up your arm and look, sometimes it tells the time. And sometimes when you pick up your arm and look, it stonewalls you. So it is possibly the been in the back of a drawer for a really long time syndrome then, and not a failing of Fitbits. This is what I needed to know.
Yeah, but there is a way, at least on mine, which is mine is called the Flex.
Yeah.
I have done a thing before where you reset it, where you like stick a paperclip in a tiny hole. So
I'm looking for a tiny hole.
It may have something like that. The customer service has been pretty good when I've done the little chat bot questions.
Okay.
So you might want to try that.
Maybe I should try that. I found out today that it does not record treadmill steps very well.
Yeah, it is disappointing. I have the same issue.
The consensus online has been to strap it around your ankle.
That's what I do when I ride my bike. I put it on my shoe because I found that it wasn't doing much for me.
Well, it doesn't do anything at all if you're holding onto the bar. I figured that out pretty quick. And so I started swinging my arms, but it said that I walked on the treadmill for 23 minutes at 3 miles an hour, and I went 392 steps, which I'm trying to figure out how it thinks I did that exactly. Because it records my steps just walking around the house. And it's a lot. So what sort of steps I was taking? So anyway, clearly it did not record all the steps I did on the treadmill, which was disappointing. So I guess I will try it around my ankle.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of it. I'm not sure about its accuracy at anything. Yeah. The sleep is interesting. I'm not sure it's always accurate. And it does not work well with my habit of fall asleep at 9 o'clock in front of the TV, wake up at 11:30 and work a number of hours, go back to sleep, because it records the sleep on the day you woke up. So if I fall asleep for 3 hours and then I wake up before midnight, it records those hours on the day that day, instead of considering them to be part of a night's sleep that ends the following day. So you wind up with, 10 hours one day and 2 hours the next or something. Right. Which is not helpful.
But what do you want to do with that information? The sleep information?
I just want to know how long I slept, because it's usually a case of what time did I fall asleep? What time was it when I fell asleep? How much sleep did I get? I would like to find out exactly how much sleep I'm getting, which it seems to sort of generally do.
It would generally tell you that, right?
But sometimes it seems a little light, and sometimes it seems a little heavy. And the fact that it can't record steps on a treadmill makes me wonder if it can record sleep or really anything. Is it being too generous to my steps around the house? Right. But anyway, it's a toy. It's fun.
And you can sync it to Weight Watchers.
Yes, which I did, which is why I was particularly ticked that it didn't record enough steps on the treadmill to count for a point. Come on. I did the treadmill. I want my points.
Give me points, man.
But it is giving me points for just walking around the house. It's giving me lots of steps for walking around the house, which seems possibly not realistic. So it may be
sort of evening out in the end.
That is my hope, but I did go into Weight Watchers and entered the treadmill. So those 300 some steps will get recorded twice.
Yeah. That seems okay.
Well, so I'll check in later to see how this I'm doing with this. But for now, thank you for the info. I will have to. I also hate the way the band clasps. I'm having a lot of trouble opening and closing it. One of those, the rubber band. It's not a rubber band.
Yeah, I know.
The band that is made of rubber, and that you have to push. Now, are the little pegs that push through? Are those sensors of any sort, or are they just little pegs?
No,
that push
they're
through?
just little pigs.
Okay, so you could really put any sort of strap on it if you want to.
Yeah.
It's not reacting to that. I've been feeling like they have to be in contact with my wrist, but it doesn't.
Go on Amazon and search and you'll find, like I bought, because like I said, I have this Flex, which is really old, and it's just a piece of rubber, then you stick the little tiny tracker in it. Yeah. And I bought,
I have that one too.
I bought like a dozen extra bands for like $10 or something.
Wow. Yeah. This one is burgundy. I would have gone for gray and black, but it's free. So for free, it's the perfect color. So
I have a lot of colors that I definitely will not use, but in order to get some more of the colors I did want, I just bought a bunch of other things.
Right. Okay. Well, that's my experiment for the moment, Fitbit. We will see how long it lasts.
Okay.
I do like getting Weight Watchers Fit points for just walking around my house. So, legit or not, that's cool. What are you shouting out and sharing today, Catherine?
My daughter just recently told me about this website called What Should I Read Next? And that is the URL, and that is the service that it provides. So you write down, you enter in the name of, she uses it for whatever book she just read, but you can also, just put a book that you liked or whatever, or something that interests you. And then it will give you a list of similar books, and all the similar books have keywords. So if you wanted to check, if you wanted, you can click on the keyword and then you'll get books that are associated with that keyword too. So you can kind of drill down and sideways and whatever to find more options.
I have 10 books piled up on Audible.
Yeah.
Since I joined Audible, I've had, they keep giving me free or cheap ones, and then plus I have the credits. I have so many books piled up. There's not enough time in my life to listen to them.
You do not need what should I read
need more
next?
Suggestions. I need, when shall I find time to read next? How about you, Nicole? What are you shouting out today?
Well, I'm not reading, but I am watching. And I can't believe I did not watch this or have started watching this sooner, but I've really gotten into The Office lately on Netflix.
Neat.
So I've been binge watching The Office, starting with season 1. So I just don't understand how I missed that show.
It's the gateway drug to Parks and Rec.
Yes. Oh, Parks and Rec.
The gateway. I'm thinking that it would be because,
you should absolutely jump into that after. Except when you're ready to jump into Parks and Rec, talk to me and Catherine will tell you when to start, because you skipped most of the first season.
Okay. Sounds good. But yes, I'm enjoying The Office and I'm binge watching it on Netflix.
Oh, fun. All right.
And now for our final segment today, we're doing a little shameless self-promotion, and we're going to direct you to some things on our sites that we think you should take a look at. And I will just very quickly mention that my book that came out earlier this year, Inclusion in Action, Practical Strategies to Modify Your Curriculum, would be an excellent gift for any teacher or educator or family that you know that has students with disabilities in the school system. And so I'm shouting out my book, and that's available on Amazon, and it's on sale right now.
Hey.
So that is what I'm talking about today for my shameless self-promotion. Catherine, what have you got?
I don't have much. So the thing I always try to promote is this here podcast. So if every other podcast can ask you for a review every single time.
Yes. Yes.
Then I will play that role and say, if you're listening and you have not yet left us a review or just some stars, you don't even have to write anything. Just throw us some 5 stars. It's pretty easy and quick, and we would love it.
Yes. Excellent.
Terri?
Well, Nicole, you gave me the idea that, hey, I have books too that I should be plugging. And they are, in fact, on Amazon. Occasionally I check in on them and they are extremely expensive because there's like no actual copies. They're all buying them from people. But now I see that the Kindle edition of my book, 50 Ways to Support Your Child's Special Education, From IEPs to Assorted Therapies, An Empowering Guide to Taking Action Every Day by Terri Morrow, is $9.99.
Ooh, that's a good deal.
You can download that onto your device and read it right now. It's a little bit bossy, but useful.
And then you'll expect anything different from me. Years to come.
And then, additionally, the Everything Parents Guide to Sensory Processing Disorder, the information and treatment options you need to help your child with SPD by Terri Morrow, is $11.99 on Kindle. So,
Perfect.
Stock up on my know-it-all opinions.
Sounds good.
If you don't get enough of them in this podcast, you can go pay for them and have them with you always. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you enjoyed it and that you'll join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on Radio Public or download them from Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe so that you get all of our podcasts and mini podcasts.
You can also follow us on Twitter, where I am at Nicole Erdix, Catherine is at C. Haleko, and Terri is at Momitude. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Roundabout Chat and look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram too.
Best of all, stop by our podcast page at parentingroundabout.com and read recaps, find links on everything we've mentioned, and talk back in the comments. Thanks to John Morin at johnjmorin.com for providing our in and out music. And I wish everyone a great week.